In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the aims of the clinical evaluation plan and then talk to you a bit about how to structure your CER. The aims of the CEP are as follows. Firstly, we want to provide a detailed device description to the reviewer. We want to tell them everything from how the device is designed and manufactured, its components, how it's used by a user, and how it achieves its intended purpose. Next, we want to identify the relevant GSPRs for this device. As Paul mentioned in the video at the start of this series, not all GSPRs are relevant to all devices, and it's important to set out which ones are relevant, which ones are not relevant to the reviewer, so that you can clearly show how you're providing evidence for that. Thirdly, you want to make sure to describe the exact route to conformity that you're going to take, whether that's the literature route, the equivalence route, or the route through Article 6110. Next, you want to outline a search protocol that you're going to use to find evidence relating to the use of the subject device. And lastly, you want to state how evidence will be analysed in your clinical evaluation report and how that evidence will be compared to things like your state-of-the-art performance and safety objectives and the GSPRs themselves. Just as a brief recap, the objectives of the clinical evaluation report are to demonstrate suitability for intended purpose, conformity with GSPRs, non-inferiority to safety and performance objectives, and acceptability of the benefit-risk ratio. We'll give you a lot more detail about how to achieve each of these in specific videos later in this series, but in terms of how to approach and how to think about the CER, it's best to think about a regulatory story. Ultimately, that's what you're trying to tell the reviewer, and you're trying to give them it in a logical way, just like a story. Firstly, what is the device? Same as we did in the CEP, you want to set out a device description, how it's used. You also want to give some information about the manufacturer. Why do you have the necessary experience to make this device for patients to use? You also want to identify specific similar devices which achieve the same intended purpose or a similar intended purpose to your device. The next part of the story is to carry out what we said we were going to do in the clinical evaluation plan. We'll summarise the CEP, state the objectives which we're trying to meet, and we will follow the search protocol. The next step is presenting evidence. There's two main types of evidence you're going to present. The first is independent evidence. This might be from independent literature, independent vigilance databases, and then there's manufacturer-held data. That's things like your preclinical testing, risk management, and post-market surveillance data. Lastly, we're going to present the conclusions of the clinical evaluation report. We're going to say how we've met the relevant GSPRs. We're going to say how the data from the subject device and the evidence here compares to the objectives from the CEP. And we're going to perform a quantitative benefit-risk analysis. We look forward to showing you this in a bit more detail in the coming videos, but hopefully this gives you a good overview of our approach.